Hey guys, hope you had a great weekend. Let's get you started for the week with 3 things that I think you should know and that will hopefully make you a little bit smarter. So, it's been exactly 2 weeks since the death of George Floyd in police custody. And this week, he will finally be laid to rest in Houston. We'll be watching a public viewing today and the final burial tomorrow. In the meantime, in Minneapolis, there is a movement by the city council there to disband the police department. Now, you should know a couple things about this. The headlines are really catchy. The vote hasn't happened yet. It's an intention set by the city council. And I heard one interview say that we will not vote, they're saying, the city council, until we have a plan to replace the police department. The mayor of Minneapolis is against this. It really puts us into uncharted territory about what it would look like in a major U.S. city to disband the police department. And of course, there's a big question about whether or not it could actually happen. But you should know there is a movement by the city council to do so. What would replace the police department is still unknown. That constant chant that you've heard of defunding the police, defund the police, we're going to dig into that this week on Smarter News. It's something that you have requested, and we're going to figure out, well, what does it actually mean to defund the police department? Are we talking about zero funds? Are we talking about reallocation of funds, which it seems to be in some of these major departments across the country? So we're going to get a little more information for you on that. Why we're watching Minneapolis is a question about whether or not it sets a precedent for other U.S. cities during this time. In the meantime, from Minneapolis, I want to take you back to Washington, D.C., because that's at a local level. But let's talk about legislation we're going to see in Washington, D.C., presented by Democrats that also include different reforms. Without seeing the full text of the legislation, here's what we've heard it's about. One of the things it could include is a national registry for police misconduct. So that would require police, if they are found in misconduct, to be part of basically a database. It's interesting, many of you have asked for statistics, and it's important to know when it comes to so much different data on the federal level. It's really up to police departments to self-report. So that's always a factor. It doesn't mean all the data is bad. It just means in certain ways that we have to consider that, are all police departments reporting the same way? Are they all reporting timely when it comes to everything, not just police misconduct? It's also just crimes. So that's something to know is happening. Legislation on a federal level, we'll see where it goes. It's being presented by Democrats. We hope to get more specifics. One of the things it looks like it would include is some sort of national registry for police misconduct. So that's on that, kind of if we could put that pillar of the story that we're watching regarding police reform, George Floyd, and in continuing to watch the different movements that will come again of the moment that we witnessed 2 weeks ago. In the meantime, one of the things I'm watching is a tropical storm. Cristobal, have you seen this? I know it might sound like a strange pivot, but there's a couple reasons why I'm watching this storm that came into Louisiana and is expected to travel all the way north to the Midwest, to Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan, all the way up there. One reason I'm watching it is it's historic, that we really don't see tropical storms start in the South and affect the entire country, a big swath of the country all the way to the north. In some ways, I thought that's very metaphoric, that we're seeing this one big effect kind of go across the entire country. The other reason I'm watching this is because it's been my experience 15 years as a journalist that weather has a funny way of interrupting the news cycle. If we see massive flooding, massive disruptions, that could become a factor in whether or not we see the sustained demonstrations that we've seen over the last 2 weeks. So it's another reason why I'm keeping an eye on this story. Finally, you should know America's largest city, New York City, is sort of back to work today after a complete shutdown, really due to COVID-19. This, as America nears 2 million cases of COVID-19, we're watching that kind of landmark number. Looks like we're at about 7 million all over the world. In America, almost 2 million. Not everyone gets to go back to work in New York City. Select industries, including in construction, are going back to work. So we'll watch for that. In the meantime, I'm also watching to see there's been kind of this drop of information about treatment with COVID-19. I know we've chased a lot of different stories, but a story that I keep on coming up and I keep on seeing is an ingredient in over-the-counter antacid medication, heartburn medication. And there was another study that came out late last week that showed a little bit of promise in how this very basic ingredient seems to help symptoms with COVID patients. They are very small studies. They need to be more broadly looked at in clinical studies. But because I've seen, this is the third story I've seen in recent weeks about this, I just wanted to flag it for you because it's kind of interesting. Is there something there? We'll see. The New York governor, by the way, as New York City is reopening, and the New York mayor are asking or just planting the idea. If anyone's been at a protest in New York City, they're saying that there's certain test sites that they can go to for COVID-19. You know this. If you're not showing any symptoms, getting tested for COVID-19 is sort of like getting tested for the flu. You have to be in a certain range of the infection to test positive. So you could tell that public officials are worried about these mass gatherings and what the infection rates could look like. So they're kind of just putting it out there. Hey, if you've been in big groups, just remember, here are your test sites. So a couple things you need to know. Again, we're watching the funeral of George Floyd today, 2 weeks since his death in police custody. We're continuing to watch the after effects of this one event. In the meantime, watching a big weather pattern in the United States for several different reasons, including the fact that it looks like it's historic, and also watching America's large city go back to work and keeping an eye still on what's going with the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of you have heard the term. You've read the hashtag. You might have even said it yourself, Black Lives Matter. Where did that term come from? Did you know it was started by 3 women in the aftermath of the Trayvon Martin case in Florida in 2013. One of the things we looked into this weekend is the who, what, where, when, how, and why of Black Lives Matter, a term we see often, but do we actually know where it came from? And do we know what the organization itself stands for? So watch for that on Smarter News. In the meantime, keep on your feedback coming. Direct message us on social media or hello@smarternews.com. We love your feedback. It helps direct us editorially to make sure that we're providing what you need when it comes to the news. In the meantime, hope your Monday's off to a great start, maybe a second cup of coffee. I'm not here to judge. And we look forward to being with you this week on Smarter News. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon.